It'll make up a quarter of the Premiership, though, so there's a good quota of all London affairs, but this is the deepest divide in the big city. Certainly the Arsenal players have been focusing on the fact that it's 5 years since they last sent Spurs out of Highbury empty-handed. No hiding place on the Highbury pitch this afternoon. Both sets of supporters desperate to see their side win. Arsenal and Tottenham, head-to-head. It's live. It's after the break.
Coca-Cola Cup final later between Rangers and Hearts. Right now, live at Highbury, our match commentators Andy Gray and Martin Tyler.
Amongst the crowd, the England head coach with obvious affiliations from his playing days, but the interest in this match, 16 Englishmen in the starting 22, and that's pretty unusual for a match in the FA Carling Premiership these days. Of course, Teddy Sheringham was in the last England side sent out by Glenn Hoddle. Slight delay as he straps up a ring. The only time David Ellery refereed this local derby was the last time Arsenal won it at White Hart Lane more than 3 years ago. On a pitch soaked by rain, it will be Tottenham to kick off. One or two players new to the atmosphere, like the Spurs right back, Stephen Carr. Arsenal certainly have a considerable edge in derby experience. Nigel Winterburn with the Arsenal free kick. Here's Dixon. Paul Merson was a hard player to track down, and I'm sure Jerry Francis will have worked on that. Vieira with an early forward run here. And it loops up for Walker to get an early feel of the ball, and he's grateful for that.
You bet he is. Like bar of soap today, the ball absolutely poured down. It's a lovely build-up from Arsenal, so typical of the way they're playing just now. So often they get a good run from a midfield player, whether it be Merson, Vieira, to a less extent Platt these days.
Headed on by Bergkamp. Here's David Howells, who's the senior Tottenham man. When you look at players who appeared in these games before. But John Lukic pressed into service today. He's played in 16 North London derbies in his first spell at the club and only been a loser 4 times. And there was considerable risk in giving David Seaman an injection into those broken ribs, which Spurs have, as I said earlier, that Arsenal have done in the past. They're not prepared to take the risk, and it's a big, big week, this, for Arsenal. They're at Liverpool in the League Cup, and next Saturday they go to Newcastle.
That's what they've won. You ask them if they're going to enjoy it, you bet your life they are. Kind of games that players will love to play in. You'll learn a bit more about them after that.
Anderton. Tottenham so glad to have him available again, and Chris Armstrong has had these ankle problems. Certainly improved in that respect during the international break when he was given the chance to have a real rest. And Jerry Francis now being able to put out something like the side that he would regard as Tottenham's best.
Certainly Darren Anderton started wide right, Martin. Now whether he's going to stay there when actually Tottenham get possession, we'll have to wait and see. But certainly when they've not got the ball, or when they set up from goal kicks, he's just adopting that wide right position.
Armstrong, Adams at his back. Sliding in was Vieira. It is one of the smaller Premiership pitches, this one at Highbury, and sometimes contributes to matches that are often fast and furious in this stadium, and then none more so than when Tottenham make the short journey here. Ball seems to be back in play so quickly.
Colin Calder was decided to have a little trek up to the edge of the 6-yard box.
Comes in, the throw towards Calderwood. Keown climbs well. Nielsen, that's an awkward ball to defend. The shot from Howells. And Lukic had it covered.
Right, you can see the problem goalkeeper's going to have though, Martin. David Howells was really on full stretch to control that. But you saw it zip across the surface. Really picks up pace here. Hits it into the ground. Look at the way it skips away. Picking up pace all the time.
John Lukic had a couple of games in the side in the early weeks of the season, when Arsenal drew here against Chelsea and away to Aston Villa. Wasn't perhaps the happiest return for a player who, along with Lee Dixon, was in the Championship side of '89. Astonishing wealth of experience in the Arsenal ranks, but Arsene Wenger determined not to dismantle this team. He believes there's a lot more life in it. Wright, taken over by Merson. Dixon's cross. And Walker just having to reach for that a little bit at the end. Quick kick and a long one that Armstrong chases, and Steve Bold had actually turned his back on.
That was one of those you didn't want to hit them on the back, did you? Goalkeeper coming out. It's a little example of what was where the wind's blowing, if anyone was wondering at home. Huge kick from Ian Walker, and John Lukic's really struggling to get balls over the halfway line.
Vieira pressing in on the Dane Nielsen. Of course, Tottenham involved in the transfer market in Scandinavia again this week with Stefan Iversen, a very bright young Norwegian striker who's on the verge of completing a deal to come to White Hart Lane. The cost of more than £2.5 million. Bergkamp. Plat's dummy. Almost took Tottenham off their guard. Here's Bold. Merson trying to send Dixon even further forward. Andy Sinton pressed back.
Well, that's a little battle I talked about. Would Sinton push Dixon back, or would Dixon push Sinton back? At the moment, Lee Dixon's having a little bit of joy.
Bergkamp turning. David Ellery impassive. Calderwood comes away with the ball.
Well, there was a tangle, but I think it would have been a little harsh had he pointed to the spot. He's having a little pull at the shirt. It happens so often these days. But you can see the arms are up. It's a little tangle of arms and legs. Certainly think that would have been harsh if any other decision had been given.
Helped on by Howells. Keown has to use the goalkeeper. Again, the ball spiralling high on the gusty breeze. Here's Campbell. Campbell did well to get it back. Tottenham start again with Carr. He's giving it straight to Vieira. Just a touch there, and Vieira was quick enough to get to it. Good advantage played by David Ellery. It was definitely a foul by Campbell. But Arsenal can go on with Dixon. Well, a bit too much whip on it in the end.
Well, I wonder what will happen with Sol Campbell. He's just having a quick word with him, David Ellery. But Steve Carr gave the ball away quite sloppily, and once Vieira had picked it up, well, he just made a straight line, straight for the heart of the Tottenham back four.
Campbell has to press it away again, and the ball was played in significantly there by Steve Bold. I think it's something that Arsene Wenger has encouraged the centre-backs to push on whenever they feel the time is right. Of course, Bold will stay forward, so effective at flicking the ball on, as he tries to do there, and does so, and it kept on going from Winterburn's throw, Bold's head, and Walker was worried for a second or two.
Well, Bold can ask the question, where were you? He does his job, and for once, you don't often see Ian Wright not go and attack the penalty area. Gambling, as I would say. Just both of them, both he and Merson, get caught a little bit on their heels, but certainly there was a tap in there for someone. Had anyone gone?
Adams. Now Howells. Carr. This is a bold break. Tracked well back by Bergkamp. Campbell's header away. It's just too far in front of Wright. He's not a natural target in the shape of an Alan Smith or of the present Arsenal squad, John Hartson, who's available today as a substitute after a 3-match suspension in the Premiership. But of course he brings all sorts of other qualities right to that role, really at the sharp end of things.
Yeah, just put Nigel Winterburn right there, exactly where he wanted the ball.
Bold defending a Tottenham long throw this time. Sinter. Yeah, that's a free kick. Keown was committed. And Tottenham have a chance.
I know this is a long way out, Mark, but I tell you, with the conditions the way they are, the ball very greasy, I would seriously be saying, you've got to have a shot on target. You've got to try and get one up and down.
Well, they've replaced the ball for the free kick. Clyde Wilson having a look if the left footer is required. But it's Sheringham who can hit them better than that, but it's spun away for a corner. He was obviously concentrating on making sure it didn't fly into the crowd.
Yeah, this isn't his best. I think he was trying to keep it low, to try to get it to pick up some pace off the ground.
Anderton will take the corner. It's that one towards Sheringham again. They still keep trying it, and it wasn't too far away from coming off. Well, it's come back Sheringham's way, and he wasn't taken by surprise, and he hasn't taken the chance.
Well, it spun towards him really viciously. He took control of it really well. It was awkward to control this as it's spinning away. And he gets hold of it well. First touch is a good one. So is the second. I mean, he drills it really well. He can only be a yard out, but that's a real let-off for Arsenal. Strikes it really well, but it just doesn't come back in for him.
Because it suddenly flew back as Lee Dixon went in for a challenge, and it was a chance for Sheringham that he couldn't have expected, and having dealt with the pace of the ball very well straight away, he couldn't find the placement for the shot. Here's Merson for Arsenal. It's a good piece of defending from Darren Anderton.
I'd just like to have seen Paul Merson go on, Mark. He was short of support, really. And I thought, you know, he's only 25 yards. Well, go and commit them. I think when you're in the attacking third like that, and you've got the talent of Paul Merson, and go and commit people.
They just reach Walker, and Spurs can breathe easily again for a moment or two. Yes, it's certainly the type of surface that defenders will be worrying about their balance. Nielsen. Anderton just beaten to it by Winterburn. Howells trying to use Anderton in the space that Winterburn had left by going for the ball. Anderton's cross. It's a corner.
Good defending. Had to be as well. Carr's run here means that Winterburn can't go and press the ball, so he backs off. That gave Anderton a little bit of space to look up and pick his spot. Defending had to be good from Keown.
It's another Anderton corner. Vieira now. And it looked as though he was just going to head it away. More on that in a moment. This is Merson. Still one or two questions being asked of David Ellery by the Tottenham players about that.
Well, it did dip, didn't it? And it did catch him on the arm. I'm not so sure there was very much intent, and he knew an awful lot about it. He just seemed to get caught out. Maybe the ball just swerved a little bit.
Centre.
Again, Paul Merson, Mark, when he broke there and he just tucked in onto his right side, I thought, he's going to pull the trigger. He's only 25, 26 yards from goal, but again, look to pass it. I think that's the one thing that surprised me in the opening 15 minutes. I think as a manager, you'd have been saying, if you get a chance, lads, let's get a couple of shots on target. Let's try and make life difficult for the goalkeepers.
Here's Buildup. Buildup slipping. Sinton getting it away. Aiming for Sheringham, who had bowled at his back.
Yeah, Teddy Sheringham, they're using all his experience. He's as guilty as backing in as Steve Bold are climbing over the top. That's what you've got to do to relieve pressure if you're a front man. Earn yourself or your side free kicks. That's exactly what he did.
Calderwood with the free kick for Tottenham. Armstrong. Well, that's simple for Lukic. Well, Arsenal, as has been pointed out, have been frustrated by Jerry Francis teams in the past. No wins in 10 when Queen's Park Rangers and Spurs have been under Jerry Francis's guidance. Well, he'll be concerned about how his team today defend this free kick, which is taken by Adams. Bold trying to make his presence felt in the Spurs penalty area again. It really is extraordinary how long so many of these Arsenal defenders have stayed at the top level here at Highbury, given the way players move about so much these days. Adams has been captain since March 1988.
I think winning things comes to me.
And they're hungry to win more. That's what Arsene Wenger has spotted. No complacency. Shot from Nielsen, deflected. Corner to Spurs again. Again, it's Anderton. Again, Sheringham is waiting to the far side of the penalty spot as we look. To the near side as Anderson plays it in. That was David Howells who misjudged it. Again, perhaps with the wind being a factor.
Sheringham was just trying to clear a space, Martin. And watch the way he pulls in behind Vieira. I think that was Anderton's intended target. I noticed the two of them had a little word with each other just before the corner. And that's what you've always got to be aware of, your Martin Terry Sheringham. His movement is ever so good in and around the 18-yard box.
Clive Wilson is always very comfortable with the ball at his feet. Decided to take the safer option there. Again, the referee indicating that an advantage was played. Sheringham was caught from behind. Spurs still had the ball. Very hard at times for these games to flow, but certainly in recent seasons the spectacle has been enhanced. There was a marvellous match at White Hart Lane a year ago, which Tottenham came from behind to win 2-1. And Chris Armstrong is on the ball here, getting the winning goal. Campbell.
Well, they've earned the throw and he didn't really deserve it with the ball. It was a rather straight ball.
Yes, Keogh could have let the ball run. Opted to try and cushion it down for Dixon and put it out of play. Howells getting it forward quickly. Armstrong, Sheringham. There's another player in there. It was Nielsen as well, who's a midfield man who does like to push on. Anderton's cross. Out by Adams. The flag was up.
That's a pretty positive start from their away side.
Well, 4 wins in the last 5 Premiership games. 5 wins out of 6 overall. It's a much happier Tottenham camp, with some early season injuries sorted out. Merson trying to go through the centre when there was an avenue to explore down the left with Winterburn on the move. Bolt. Winterburn now involved in his testimonial year. His supporters would have enjoyed that little piece of play from one of the players here who doesn't seem to ever get too much publicity, but does the job pretty much week in, week out. Bergkamp, who's certainly in the superstar category. Caldwell was a little fortunate that it bounced back for him to clear eventually from Merson. The adventurous side of Steve Bold again. Merson. Dixon moving on, but there's no one now wide on the right-hand side. Keown takes up that position. Carr in the right place to clear it for Spurs. And nothing between the two teams at this point with 20 minutes gone.
It's been furious. First 20 minutes.
Adams. Well, I mentioned it with Bold, Andy, but you were here the other week for the Stoke game. Did you see such adventure and the licence to attack from the centre-back who's not got a defensive responsibility at that particular moment?
Less from Adams, Mark. I think what he's trying to do is when the ball's on the left side, see where it is now, then what I think they're trying to do is get that left-sided centre-back involved in the attacking play. And it was noticeable when it's in this near side, Martin Keown tries to get forward. But because Tony Adams anchors it centrally, there are fewer opportunities for him to break forward.
Arsene Wenger's been trying to play down, with some difficulty, I must stress, the importance of this match's local rivalry and concentrate on its importance in the Arsenal calendar. Of course, an Arsenal win and they will go second. But it's such a congested area at the top of the Premiership. Here's Howells, and Tottenham would be looking on the league position very favourably if they were to get the 3 points today.
Well, when you look at the Premiership, there are 9 points, I think, between 1st and 10th. I mean, that does suggest that we have got something special brewing this season.
Yes, if Spurs won, I think it will be 6 points between the top 8.
That'll do. That'll do me nicely.
Campbell. Vieira keeping the ball, keeping his balance. There's an understandable urgency not to be caught in possession in midfield, which has led to the ball being given away from time to time.
Well, time and space are hard to come by at the moment.
Armstrong. It's Sheringham with Anderton behind him, and Spurs appealing for a corner and getting one. Sheringham just pulling a little bit deeper this time, leaving Campbell to come from the edge of the area into that space vacated by his captain.
Never easy. He's a little bit too far past the near post. He's away over at the corner of the 6-yard box. It's always going to be a difficult header from there. They've marked him quite well at corners, Arsenal. They've certainly done their homework. It was a huge threat when Anderton is delivering.
Vieira touched it on well. Well, you talk to any of the Arsenal players, they will tell you they're enjoying life under Arsene Wenger. They appreciate his methods. And of course, a number of them have been given improved contracts over the past few days. They'll certainly be appreciating that. Paul Merson has a new offer to consider. Here's Vieira.
Lovely little give and go. Lovely return from Merson. I just thought Vieira would play it in when he had the opportunity.
Well, just a little flick on the floodlights then to suggest the illumination was decreasing. Big surge of power maybe in the London area about this time on a Sunday.
A few kettles going on.
Leave the team making till half-time is the message from Highbury.
The referee's going over, Martin. I think something's happened. There's no doubt, but it's got far gloomier here, and I don't think it's anything to do with the weather. I just wonder if one or two floodlights did go out.
It looks as though David Ellery is discussing the matter with both benches. Certainly Jerry Francis speaking on behalf of Spurs. Well, we need all the light we can get in weather like this, but certainly not bad enough to go off. Imagine if Dickie Bird had been in charge of this game. So here's Wilson. Picked off by Vieira. Here's Martin Keough. Dixon going square to Merson. Spurs happy to see the ball passed in front of the back line. It's quite a bit more purposeful around to Bergkamp, but he can't rid himself of the attentions of Clive Wilson. Merson, Bergkamp, penalty for the second challenge. There was a little tangle first up, and then Clive Wilson was ruled to be culpable, and Arsenal have got a penalty.
Yeah, I don't think that's the incident that was allowed to go on, and I think it's here.
That's it there.
The left leg goes up in between Bergkamp, trips him over. That's the one that David Early ruled was a infringement. That's why the penalty kick's been given.
And who's picked up the ball? Ian Wright. Well, he has an impressive scoring record in this fixture. Wright scores, and Arsenal are in front. His name up in lights again. Another goal closer to the all-time club record that he's seeking so much.
Well, he hits it in so assuredly. 2 or 3 steps, and I think even if Ian Walker goes the right way, he does well to get near that. But the talking point will be, I'm sure, at half-time, should the penalty been given in the first place.
Well, it's 1-0 to Arsenal. A Londoner in a London derby. Ian Wright.
Well, Terry Sheringham's furious with David Early at the moment because he feels that it should have been more than just a free kick. Martin Keough clattered in at the back of him.
David Howell just having a word with Darren Anderton about the Tottenham policy at this free kick. Plenty of bend on it and some dip as well. Lukic reaching up, didn't need to touch it. Sheringham is still chewing the fat with David Ellery.
There's no doubt he feels hard done by, not just with the incidents that have happened, but this one involved Clive Wilson. That's the initial challenge there. But I think as Bergkamp tries to get up, and he's clambering, the left leg comes out. David Ellery was in an excellent position to see that. And having seen that, well, he gave the penalty.
Dixon. Arsenal flying forward again. Oh, and it was Wright who could have doubled the advantage.
Oh, what a ball in from Dixon. He's revelled in this new role that he's been given. And it's a wonderful run through and a great ball in. It's the one that skips just before it reaches him in these conditions. And you'd have put money on Ian Wright, not scoring maybe, but you'd have put money on him making the goalkeeper work. It's a chance and he knows it.
Well, the lights might be going out, but the noise level is coming on strong because Arsenal are in the lead. And they love it when they're leading Tottenham. They've been talking in the Arsenal dressing room this week about the length of time since the last Highbury win against the old enemy, about the poor Premiership record, just 1 win in 8 for the Gunners at Tottenham's expense. Well, it's looking good at the moment.
There's been nothing in it, you know. It's been a fiercely contested North London derby.
Here's Anderton. Well, Ian Wright has missed 1 or 2 penalties in his time with Arsenal, but you need somebody in a match of this magnitude who really believes in their ability to step up when the ball's on the spot. And Wright didn't fail himself or his club or these fanatical Arsenal followers who are urging on David Platt now. I think Wright might have realised he wasn't going to get there.
That was just a tangle of legs. I think that's a good decision from the referee. It was made for him. The ball was a good one from Platt. He knows where Wright wants this. It's in behind. And they just get in a little tangle. Steve Carr coming round on the cover. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, the all-time Arsenal record in North London derbies belongs to Alan Sunderland with 8. Wright has now got 6. Here's Howells. Anderton. I think it's fair to say that Arsene Wenger hasn't curbed too much of Arsenal's attacking inclinations, encouraged the likes of Mersons to try a trick like that, even in his own half, trying to backheel the ball into the area where Dixon might have moved on. Bergkamp. Now Wright. Flying back was Carr, and Walker in a position not dissimilar to the one David Seaman found himself in at Old Trafford, which cost Arsenal dearly up in Manchester. Walker managed to solve the goalkeeping difficulties with the footwork. Vieira. Now Keown. Merson. Keown has come on in this adventurous Arsenal way, and David Howells intervenes at the cost of a corner.
Well, he was making it his, David Howells. There wasn't a question about that. He was going in to win this, sets up, and then he goes really forcefully. But he was always going to win that. He wanted that.
Arsenal finally get their first corner. Or will it be the old routine? Winterburn in to Steve Bold, and the flick that can cause all sorts of chaos to the opposition. It's over Bold. It dropped towards Adams. Kept in play by Sinton. Now Merson. A confident touch back to Campbell from Sinton, who was still in that right back position.
Great header for Adams though, to Winterburn.
Right, but the whistle's gone. Tottenham taking the free kick quickly. This is Armstrong trying to find Nielsen, who was making up the ground quickly.
The goals lifted it. It was fiercely contested before, Martin, but now it's a little bit stretched the game as well.
Bergkamp. And Wilson had to make it his, otherwise the Dutchman was really in behind Tottenham.
You've got to watch anything that bounces like that in front of you. Your concentration must be 100%. If it's not, it'll just skip off your foot and you'll have lost it.
Vieira. Thought it was his throw. Let it run out. Howells. That's good control from Bold. Bergkamp. Dixon careering forward, and the pass was measured beautifully for him. David Platts in the centre. Well, they may be growing old together, some of these Arsenal players, but my goodness, the fitness levels are still very high.
I don't know what he's on, Lee Dixon, I'll tell him up. Looking at him this season, I tell you, I bet he's glad he hasn't played all his career in that wing-back position.
He is knocking it crisply to the feet of Bergkamp. Merson moving well. That's where it does look a narrow pitch at times. Which, of course, when you check the measurements, it is compared to some of the others at this level. Well, given the ground that Dixon has to cover here, he's probably pleased that it's on the smaller side. Armstrong. Adams coming across with characteristic commitment. Nielsen trying to get some purchase on the ball here. Campbell. Sheringham's trying to keep it in play. Lukic struggling to get to it. And finally, Arsenal, with a great deal of difficulty, get it away. Tottenham have needed players to chase back here. As it might drop for Bergkamp, it has done. In for Wright. Campbell there in the nick of time for Tottenham.
Great tackle. What great football that was from one end to the other. What a touch from Bergkamp from that ball from Merson. Just brilliant diagonal ball. His touch was absolutely perfect. He actually wanted Wrighty to go away from him. Ian Wright didn't really see Bergkamp's position and rather crowded it for him.
And all that coming within seconds of a real scare for John Lukic and company.
And David Platt did well back in there, Martin. I think it was Platt that got a really important tackle in. Ran him at the edge of the 6-yard box. I think it was Andy Sinton. Just in the nick of time.
Collins. Now Platt. Merson. Doesn't reach Wright. Campbell sorted up. Bergkamp. Arsenal keeping it going. Certainly worth the shot. And,
always worth a shot today, Martin. Always. And it makes this, what would make this difficult if it's on target is the way it just bounces, skips up before it reaches the goalkeeper. Just about the edge of the 6-yard box. If that's bouncing and the goalkeeper's going for it, all sorts of problems.
let's get a word on the floodlight situation from Nick Collins.
Martin, the latest situation is this: the clock end and the north stand end lights will not be able to be put on again until half-time, because in order for them to go on, the other lights have all got to be switched off. So we could be plunged into total darkness before the lights come back on properly.
Wilson. This is Sinton. That was Anderton coming in as the ball rather spat up for him. Carr. Howells with the cross. Anderton.
Well, I have to say I've absolutely enjoyed this first half. It's been a smashing game, smashing local derby. And Tottenham are still very, very much alive in this match.
Well, it certainly looks bright enough through the lenses of our cameras. It's not quite as good as that with the naked eye. Deep corner that David Platt clears. Carr. Sinton can't keep it in. Andy Sinton, who scored in the win against Sunderland last weekend. His first goal in the Premiership for more than 3 years, his first for Tottenham. We've got so much football coming up for you next week on Sky Sports. Let's concentrate on our Monday night match and the bottom two. So much at stake at the City Ground. That was marvellous control from Merson. Keogh. Showing him rather stretching the ambition of Tottenham there and letting it run. Adams. Bergkamp. Still being played at an electrifying pace. Wright trying to get in front of Campbell. Others arriving for Arsenal. Not quite where the ball finally dropped.
That's as good a piece of football as you likely to see. Starting way back with Tony Adams. And the passing and awareness of players from Bergkamp when he controlled it and reversed it to Winterburn. Super football.
Vieira. Platt. Who, as Andy was saying earlier on, has to restrict the natural attacking side of his own game.
But this break, when they play it, and watch this for control, and he knows that Winterburn's gone, Bergkamp. And it's an absolutely perfect pass to him. Once again, Tottenham get enough bodies back in. His touch has been wonderful today, Bergkamp.
It's Keogh making it his. Winterburn. Bergkamp, who likes to drop into midfield, much as Sheringham does for Tottenham. Dixon. And Keogh, not trapped by Tottenham. Not easy to clear for Calderwood. The Spurs fans felt that Keogh was just jumping into Sol Campbell there. The referee allowed the game to continue, which has been very much David Ellery's policy in this first half. For all the natural tensions that surface when Spurs come to Arsenal, it's a match that we can judge on its footballing merits to this point.
Oh, it's fizzed along. I'd be absolutely amazed if they can keep this up in the second half, this pace.
Didn't bring a torch with you, did you?
Couple of candles, anyways.
It's a little bit loose from Platt.
You know, as we approach half-time, Martin, if you were Tottenham, as I said, there's not a lot on the sides. I think that Jerry might like to see Darren Anderton in the game a bit more. Now, whether he's prepared at this early stage at half-time to maybe change things in the midfield area to get Anderton in field, to get him involved on the ball. It's sometimes difficult when you're playing wide to actually get the ball. You can't really go and hunt it from there.
And he's certainly got to have somebody on that side of the pitch to match Winterburn's runs. Well, here's Alan Nielsen. Anderton. Great tackle from Winterburn. That lending support, but not the control that Arsenal wanted initially, but they've got it back again now through Bergkamp, who's waiting for Merson, finding Merson. Wright repositioning in the centre.
Well defended.
Bergkamp trying to explore another avenue. Tottenham trying to keep their defensive shape. A goal behind to an Ian Wright penalty. Adams just deflecting it into the penalty area, and even that could have come off.
Well, this is an adventurous and Arsenal side that I can remember seeing. I've been here 20 years and I can't remember seeing too many Arsenal sides that have been this adventurous. Centre-backs going up in the way that they do. A midfield full of attacking ideas and attacking footballers.
Well, there were 2-on-1. Dixon, and Tottenham really could have been punished from that. Dixon wanting a bit more aggression from his teammates in the centre to move in towards the near post. Spurs wanting a bit more cover on this side of the pitch.
Caught them a bit cold, I think, that's all. I mean, that's a decent ball in. You'd never want that one back. Level with the near post. Anyone comes across your face, there's a chance for you.
It's another Nigel Winterburn corner. Away by the Scot, Colin Calderwood. Oh, it's half-time. Never even looked at the watch, it's gone so quickly. Ian Wright's penalty. Clive Wilson. At the second attempt there. Penalty given. Tottenham disputed it. Ian Wright converted it. His 160th goal for the club. They keep on going in for one of the great goal scorers. And in the North London derby...
Goal to nil, Ian Wright's penalty. What a penalty. Let's rejoin our match commentators, Andy Gray and Martin Tyler.
Thanks, Richard. Tottenham 44 wins to Arsenal's 47, but none for the Gunners in the last 5 meetings. Well, they lead at half-time. A little bit of a Scottish disagreement, Andy. You're not quite in harmony with Charlie Nicholas's half-time.
I don't think you can ever say it wasn't a penalty, man. I thought that that's what we remarked, that it wasn't the first challenge that the referee gave the penalty for. That's what we thought. That was right. But I think it was one of those that certainly could have gone either way. If it's against you, you would complain. If you didn't get it, you would complain.
David Ellery gave it, and by that penalty, Arsenal lead as the second half gets underway, with considerably more lighting now. Keogh. Armstrong striving to keep it in. Unsuccessfully. Arsene Wenger down at touchline level for the second half. Now Carr. Anderton, who was only on the periphery of the first half, probably because for the most part he's been on the periphery of the pitch. And Andy, you were considering at half-time whether Tottenham might change it to get him into a more central role. At the moment it's Nielsen trying to get forward from the middle of midfield.
No change mark on either side's set up. Dan Anderton still along this right-hand side. I think it is a dilemma for Jerry, because he's very conscious of the fact that if he moves and says to him with the 11 that they've got, go on field, try and get a little bit more involved, try and get the ball, then he does leave Nigel Winterburn with acres and acres to gallop into if he wanted it.
John Lukic had very little to deal with in the first half. That's not to say that Tottenham weren't compact and competitive. Colby. Now Anderton. But like so many midfield players in this game, had to get it forward under pressure.
Well done, Sol Campbell. Just read that situation very well indeed. He has a little look and he sees Ian Wright pulling behind Colin Calderwood. Across he comes and makes a comfortable clearance.
Arsenal might get some second phase possession here. It's very difficult for the backmen like Bold to try and find someone in the air up front for Arsenal, who aren't particularly well equipped in that respect, but the defensive header dropped into an area where Arsenal were really hunting it on the edge of the Tottenham penalty area. Platt. Wright got to it, but there was no one in support of him. You see very much the shape that Arsene Wenger wants from his team, Andy, when the opposition have the ball.
Well, they almost play like a box in midfield. 4 players, Platt and Vieira holding 2. Merson and Bergkamp the ones that are slightly ahead of him, but it's almost a square. And Bergkamp does play an awful lot inside to outside left, and Merson's the one who gets in tandem with Dixon more often than not.
We'll harness the new manager's thoughts to plenty of well, work spirit here and understanding between a group of players who have done so much together. Campbell. Anderson in a central position this time. Howells. Sol Campbell had driven on with his run. Got a bit awkward for Arsenal as Lukic decided he had to come out towards Sol Campbell as well.
Good adventurous run. Look at Darren Anderton's position though. He dragged Nigel Winterburn right across and in there as well. So even if he does go in, it would seem that Nigel Winterburn's job will be to track him in there.
John Lukic thought it was just going to run out. And got a bit of a scare when Campbell got a touch to the ball, but he couldn't stop it crossing the line. Wright's header. Adams for Arsenal, on from Platt. Tries to win it again, and gets the ball down cleverly. Got the better of Howells. This is Merson. It's a clever pass for Ian Wright. Lovely football. Platt started it.
Well, Platt did the bread and butter, but after that it was all cream. The run from Wright, the little reverse from Merson. His first touch was excellent, and again he's missed what for Ian Wright is a real chance. It's on his left side again. Not the easiest of chances. The thing that he'll be disappointed about more than anything is he hasn't hit the target.
Howells. Well found. Carr. It's a bit lucky for Tottenham because it wasn't really going anywhere from Steve Carr. Got a second chance. Now it's Wilson on the Spurs left. Nielsen. Finding a little bit of room there where there seemed to be none after Clive Wilson had just played the ball.
Well, they've had plenty of corners, Spurs in this match.
This one entrusted to Andy Sinton. All but right back for Arsenal. It's a throw that was made possible by some quick thinking from Bergkamp. Vieira made tracks to the right, Winterburn to the left. And a little give and go between Bergkamp and Wright didn't come off. Nielsen. Tottenham need Walker in the end to clear their lines. Arsenal with just the 2 defeats in the Premiership, back in August at Liverpool and last weekend at Manchester United. And unbeaten here in the league since January. But they're certainly not secure yet in this fixture, given all its extra rivalry. And the Spurs fans who are here urging Clive Wilson and company to increase the output if they can, and wipe out what they will feel is an injustice. A penalty. Anderson. And here's Bold again with attacking thoughts when he got the ball, but it's left a space, and Darren Anderton. Good stop by Lukic. A very important moment in the match, and some angry reaction from those protecting their goalkeeper, and it's still going on between Vieira and Armstrong. And David Ellery, who's not bashful when it comes to dispensing discipline, has got to deliver his verdict here.
Well, there's cards coming out, there isn't a doubt about that. Certainly Sheringham and Armstrong and Vieira, the trio involved, seemed to originate around Teddy Sheringham as he went in after that fine save from John Lukic. The clearest chance that Tottenham have had in this match. And sometimes when you're encouraged to play from the back, this sort of thing happens. And they don't clear the lines, and it drops to Anderton. He strikes it really well and across the keeper. But John Lukic is up and there, and it's as Teddy Sheringham comes in there. He mixes it with Martin Keown a little. And it was from there the little scuffle happened.
And bookings for Vieira and for Armstrong. Well, unlike the incident at Old Trafford last week between Wright and Schmeichel, this time the goalkeeper was passive in the incident, Lukic. But he conceded a couple of soft goals, John Lukic, when he came into the side as deputy for David Seaman early in the season. But he did very well there as Darren Anderton hoped he was homing in on an equaliser for Tottenham. Armstrong and Vieira again. And Vieira felt the force, and here is Chris Armstrong, and Lukic has stopped Spurs again.
Well, they're not happy about that tackle. Ian Wright's round the referee.
Vieira is still down.
As the ball drops there, I mean, you don't get a good look at that from that angle. You can see the referee's position. He would have been behind Patrick Vieira. But the chance once again in that inside right position. And Chris Armstrong doesn't do enough. There's a tackle. It's two-footed. It's high. That's a really dangerous tackle from Chris Armstrong. I think that if the referee had seen it from that angle, then having just been booked, and Chris Armstrong might not be taking much more part in the game. I don't think David Elliott had the best view of that.
Well, some calming is required. Ian Wright had obviously said his piece on Vieira's behalf. And that's playful enough between Wright and Armstrong. do with the throw here.
Well, it's coming right into the box, you can better believe it. Martin, that's what's happening.
From Nielsen. Sinton! Andy Sinton's shot has crept in. Tottenham had wasted 2 earlier opportunities, have now equalised.
How much is going to be made of this, isn't it? So often you see the ball given back when someone plays it out, but not there. The ball's tossed in, sinked in, hits it well. Lukic is so unlucky. The ball hits the post, it's coming back out, hits John Lukic on the back or on the hand. There it is, and drops into the net. Well, it's been threatening. There's been 2 occasions when they could have scored. Spurs at the beginning of the second half. And the third time, well, it's third time lucky for Jerry Francis's side.
And Vieira caught Nielsen. And what's David Ellery going to do with it? Here, Vieira has been booked. He's pleading to stay on. And he's going to stay on. Andy.
Well, it's a free kick in normal circumstances. That would earn a booking for Patrick Vieira. I don't think there's a doubt about that, Martin. I think you'd agree. Look where the referee is. That would be a booking. David Ellery knows he's just booked Patrick Vieira, and if he's going to book him again, he has to send him off.
Well, I wonder whether he felt he'd just given Chris Armstrong the benefit of a doubt in the earlier incident as well.
Well, the tackle from Chris Armstrong was worse than that. It was 2-footed, it was high. And you never like to see that from anyone. And had the referee the angle that we saw late on, then I think he might have gone off Chris Armstrong. There's no love lost between these two sides.
Well, can you trace it back to the reaction straight away when Martin Keown, was it, who wanted to come in on John Lukic's behalf? I mean, Lukic was quite capable of looking after himself in that situation.
Well,
and ever since then, we've had bad temper.
It hasn't settled, Martin, since that moment. Hasn't settled. There was that incident, then Vieira, then the throw-in when Arsenal might have expected Tottenham to toss it back to them. Then the goal, now Vieira. Was it a second booking, was it not? It's been all incident second half. All incident.
And on a day when the 2 captains have written in the match programme to the fans to behave themselves, we're at the stage in the match when the players' behaviour is being called into question. We've had almost an hour. It's 1-1. Ian Wright for Arsenal, Andy Sinton via the post, and John Lukic for Spurs. Bergkamp. Now Winterberg. Arsenal wanting to hit back with Wright. Dragged it wide.
Well, that's the more difficult of the three chances he's had on his left foot. Winterburn works it really well with Bergkamp again. And this is a snapshot. He knows where the goals are, they're not moving. He just chokes it a little, comes across it, squares it, screws it into the ground a touch. I would suggest don't take your eyes off this match.
It has half an hour to run. Has Jerry Francis put the fluence on Arsenal again? With a Tottenham team, he's done with Spurs in the past and with Queen's Park Rangers.
I think looking back to the throw-in, I think what Jerry and his lads were saying, like, hold on a minute, it was an Arsenal player that was injured, it was Arsenal that tossed the ball out. But I have to say, so many times, even in that situation, in the modern game, the ball is given back, and someone might be seriously injured.
Well, there's nothing in the laws of the game that says you have to do it.
Nothing at all, Mark.
It's very hot stuff. Red hot, white hot. Red and white meeting here on collision course at Highbury.
Well, I thought they couldn't keep the tempo up. If anything, they've upped it second half.
They train harder these days than you used to.
They must do.
Here's Dixon, showing his capacity for work and forcing Sinton back and fouling him in the end.
Well, every decision is going to be questioned, no matter who it goes to.
Keogh. Platt had to nick it away from Howells, and he's done that. Got it on well for Merson. Bergkamp joining Wright in the centre. Platt getting there as well. This is Bergkamp. Just behind Platt. Armstrong. Good touch from Bold. Armstrong hoping that he might just be able to let the ball run. And Chris Armstrong getting the bird from the Arsenal fans. But he was right in front of them. The assistant referee turning his attention from that to Sheringham being offside. Well, there was a time, Andy, when you were on a panel run by the Premiership, judging on who actually scored goals, and I suppose technically you might say that was an own goal. But I'm of the mind that Andy Sinton should deserve the credit for the shot. What do you say?
I don't know, the panel doesn't sit anymore.
Well, exactly.
I certainly think had it been sitting and had people been looking at that would have gone down as an own goal. But I won't argue with Andy Sinton on the score.
Well, he waited a long time for that goal last week.
Amazing how it happens. What, 3 years did you say without a Premiership goal?
Actually, more than 3 years. 3 years and a couple of months.
And that is that 2 and 2 now?
If you're giving it to him, it is. Winterburn's throw. Well, Arsenal might feel that there was a bit of the Italian in David Platt in that.
It's going to be tough now for the referee. Anything that happens, anyone who goes down in the box at any stage now in the match, then people are going to be screaming for a penalty, for a free kick.
Even Platt wasn't screaming very loud.
No, nothing in that.
Misjudged by Howells, not by Platt. Merson. Oh, could have got it to Bergkamp's feet, and Arsenal would have been better served, but Bergkamp kept it in and got a cross in out of very little. Oh, did he get a cross in? Because the assistant referee said the ball's passed out.
That's just typical of the quality he showed today, I think, Bergkamp. His touch has been as assured as anyone's. And here he digs across out of absolutely nowhere. I mean, that's a tough call. Hard to see whether that's gone out.
Lee Cable did. He's the man who matters. At times there's almost a casual air about Bergkamp. He does make the game look very simple with this wonderful ability to control the football, but the Dutchman cannot be faulted for his commitment, as if he understands how much this game means to the fans. Wilson, Sinton. That could be a booking for Dixon.
Well, it's a booking because if you go to ground and you do that in at the back of someone, it's a yellow card. I don't think there's an argument about that.
Well, the crowd feeling there's a bit of time wasting going on because Clive Wilson was adjusting a boot. Now Wilson is ready to take the free kick. He takes it well. Sheringham couldn't make it though. Nielsen, currently Denmark's Footballer of the Year, adjusting to life at this level in England. Sinton. Armstrong offside. Dixon. Now Adams. And the better of Sheringham. Vieira. Bergkamp. Tucked to the left to Winterburn by Vieira. Merson. Winterburn leaving it for Wright. This is Platt. But not able to get the ball as it dropped because David Howells found the time to get across and put it out of play.
He did well. Howells tracked Platt back into the area. The decent ball in from Ian Wright.
Bergkamp. He's going to hit it with his left foot. He loves coming in from the opposite side and hitting it with his right.
Not quite what he had intended. The idea was a good one. To leave him one-on-one against Andy Sinton. Hits it from a fair distance. Never really troubling Ian Walker. And get a look at Andy Sinton's goal. They don't do an awful lot wrong. They just get a bit unlucky after.
Armstrong. Vieira. He's sent tumbling by Nielsen. But in these hard-line times, both Vieira and Chris Armstrong may be lucky to still be in this match, which stands at 1-1. We're into its last quarter. Merson.
Yeah, free kick against Platt, just pulling at the back of David Howells' shirt as he made the run into the box. It's a good run, but what a good tracking from Howells again. Look at that. Well, if you're a midfield player with, I think, probably defensive duties as he's been doing them really well this afternoon.
Plenty of time for you to consider still your man of the match verdict, but if you've made up your mind already, 0891 11 1101.
That's a tough one today. I'm glad I'm not involved in that.
Wright's got a cross in front of Campbell. Campbell blocks the cross. For the moment at least, some of the hot-headedness has gone out of the game.
And they're concentrating and winning it now. Both sides.
Merson's header drops only though for Merson, who crosses quickly. Wright realises it will stay in play. Maybe just trying to be a bit too clever with Winterburn, but he wasn't giving it up, although the odds were against him. Same applies to Vieira. Miss hit from Bergkamp. Platt. Cleared by Calderwood. Haven't been many sustained spells of Arsenal pressure. Trying to put one together here with Winterburn to the fore again. And Tony Adams. Play on, says David Ellery. And Adams quite prepared to do that, and Arsenal get a corner.
Well, adventurous again from the skipper. This is the side they will have wanted it though from. Merson's delivery.
Merson takes, and Anderton will just have a look round, and there's not too much in white to see, in the white shirts that is. Armstrong he was trying to find, others trying to get out, including Nielsen.
Well, Nielsen made up some ground there.
One thing Jerry Francis is always proud of is the fitness level of his teams.
I think it was one of the first things he worked on, Mark, wasn't it, when he arrived at White Hart Lane? The general fitness of the players.
Well, will certainly be put to the test here. A fast-paced, furiously contested North London derby. As Platt trying to locate Wright's cross, headed back by Winterburn. The ball coming out of the back of Sheringham, and Tottenham get a free kick.
It's one of those decisions that can go either way. He looks at this and he says that Steve Ball's climbing. He could easily have gone the other way and said Teddy Sheringham was making a back.
Well, so many drawn games yesterday involving Newcastle, Liverpool and Manchester United. Are we heading for another one here?
Not forgetting Wimbledon.
Or Chelsea. Of course, we're party to those other clubs that I mentioned.
Yeah. I think they both want to win this, Omar, because of that. And that's why we're seeing both sides really intent on taking all 3 points. Close the gap. So much so that Colin Calderwood's off again.
Nielsen's long throw, not long enough. Platt neatly down to Vieira. On from Winterburn to Bergkamp. Tottenham players streaming back. Bergkamp now, this is his avenue of approach, where you feel more confident that he's going to get a shot on target, as he did then, than when he's coming from the other side.
He got it on target, but he didn't get the power he was looking for. Winterburn again helps him by making the run on the outside. Darren Anderton did half a job. He just made him rush the shot a little.
Sinton. Well, later in the week we've got live cup tie football for you on Tuesday and on Wednesday, but tomorrow night from the FA Carling Premiership, it's a battle at the bottom. Nottingham Forest against Blackburn Rovers. From the City Ground, we start at 7.
The highest rated ground of the season. Arsenal Football Club would like to thank you for your magnificent support.
Sheringham. I was just trying to roll Tony Adams and make the Arsenal skipper let the ball slip in. Armstrong to chase, free kick properly given. Nielsen, 3 up for Tottenham here. Armstrong moving in, taking the shot well, and that was very neatly constructed between the two of them.
That was good movement, good delivery from Nielsen. The ball was absolutely perfectly weighted. Watch the way he just tucks inside Martin Keown. The ball's perfect to be struck first time. The only thing that was missing in the move was the accuracy from Chris Armstrong.
It's been a very good second half for Spurs.
They've never been out of the game, Mark. I said right at the end of the first half, there's an awful lot of football to be played, and Spurs will feel they're very much in this game.
Sheringham blasting in at the ball, and it flies out off Merson.
They're a brave man to suggest reasons why this would go one way or the other in the last 15 minutes.
And both sides trying to win it with thoughtful play, despite the demand for the high tempo. Right, whether he could have called loud enough to Calderwood, he certainly left it to the defender. Ian Walker just starting to make his move then, and backing off as Ian Wright approached Colin Calderwood. This is Bergkamp.
Yeah, that's about the first time in the match he's allowed something to get away from him like that. It wasn't easy to control, looking over his shoulder. Lovely ball again from Paul Merson, but he just had to look over his shoulder, pick up the flight of the ball. There's good discipline in this Spurs side at the back now, Matt. You can see why the defensive record's been so good, particularly under Jerry and this season.
and their away record, of course, which they're particularly proud of. They've won this season at the Blackburn, Southampton and Middlesbrough, but to win at Highbury, of course, you only get the same 3 points, but it means so much more to all connected with the club. But we're still at 1-1. A bit of pushing by Bergkamp on Campbell. Sol Campbell, who played so well in his first full international, first start for England in Georgia. And we'll be wondering, of course, Tony Adams was one of his colleagues in that match, be wondering, as the fixture draws nearer, whether Glenn Hoddle will want him for the match against Italy. Inwardly cheering for Spurs, perhaps?
Perhaps. One would suggest so, looking back at his career. Never outwardly.
Dixon. Sheringham trying to get underneath that. The intentions were from Keown. Wright. Tottenham sticking to the same shape. And Walker knows he can kick it better than that last one. Got to remember in Darren Anderton's defence how few games he's had. And this is a mighty match to try and pick up some match fitness in. Here is Anderton now.
I do think also, I mean, perhaps Jerry's saying to ease people back into the game. It makes sense to play them wide. It is easier to play there and just ease them in instead of that total involvement he would really have to have in a game like this if he was playing centrally. So that might well have gone into Jerry's thoughts.
Armstrong offside. Arsenal are going to make a substitution. John Hartson going to make the change before this free kick is taken. David Black goes off. Well, Hartson comes on to give Arsenal some real height up front. And a very abrasive edge as well. He's just back from a 3-match ban. He was the first league player, I believe, in the country to pick up a suspension this season from accumulation of yellow cards. He served his time. Now can he serve the Arsenal cause at a vital time in the North London derby? That's what he's in there to do, to try and unsettle Spurs in the air.
They've just tucked Paul Merson back in alongside Patrick Vieira, rather than now just right up there as a... They'll put up Hartson alongside him now, and then Bergkamp will join him from a more central area.
Well, it's still very much here for the winning at Highbury, for either Arsenal or Tottenham Hotspur. The freshness of John Hartson having an effect.
Well, when you think of the threat they've got with the 3 centre-backs, Martin, added to that, the height and power of John Hartson, then you'll understand why delivery is all important for Arsenal.
Well, they were all cruising in then. Hartson, Bold, Adams.
Well, the header was blocked and right at source, basically. Someone made quite, I don't know whether it was Bold, whether it was Hartson. It just seemed to get jammed in between people and just slopped down to Ian Walker.
It was Hartson. Here's Darren Anderton. Spurs looking to have their say in the closing minutes at Highbury. Sinton. And Wilson for company. And Arsenal just giving it back to Wilson. Sinton can cross it here. Oh, Armstrong took it away from Sheringham. Can he tee up Anderton? Blocked by Winterburn. Bit of confusion between the two main men up front for Spurs then. And Arsenal were pleased. Might just have saved them from losing this game. Howells. Another surge from Spurs. And Steve Carr. Oh, the header from Keown, straight to Anderton. Well, it was mishit, and it could have been even more extravagantly mishit. It would have gone straight to Alan Nielsen in the clear.
He looks in quite rightly. This isn't a great defensive header from Martin Keown. I always think in situations like that, just help it out away from goal, but not back into the middle. It was right in between Nielsen and Armstrong, I think the other one was.
Winterburn. Well, with the sort of run we saw several times in the first half, and not too many in the second. You might remember he almost cost Arsenal a goal when he was caught in possession early in the second half, led to Darren Anderton's chance. But he was well to the fore then, and Arsenal have a corner because of it.
I can't understand them playing them long like that. That's 2 or 3 Paul Merson's played to the back post, and they've had such joy over the years. Just nicking it to the near.
Hartson. This is Keown. He charged it wide, and Arsenal will feel that was a real sight of the Spurs goal.
Well, a proven goal scorer would have had difficulty pulling this out the air and then getting a shot on target. It's not easy. Drops down quickly. His first touch is a good one. They're under pressure. Just drags it wide.
The man of the match phone number for you again is 0891 11 1101. Some stewarding being required at Highbury at the moment. Only be a slight delay. Ian Walker gets his concentration back. 100 games in a row. It's a great effort by the player who is regarded as the number 2 internationally to David Seaman. Hartson. Well, Tottenham can't get it away. Wright able to find Winterburn. Dixon coming in. Merson's volley, and they're off target again.
Well, I said Martin Keown had trouble with the one, but Paul Merson, you would feel, should and could have done a little better. There's plenty of time to set himself. Really comes off his shin rather than anywhere else. Drops out the air. Not a great strike. I think although this has been a really well-contested match, it's been noticeable that neither goalkeeper really has been overworked in it at all.
Sent forward by Adams, pursued by Hartson. Campbell in the way. Important chase on here between Sinton and Merson. If Merson had won that, Tottenham might have been in trouble. Sinton got there. And now he's wrong-footed by Howells. And Dixon with another driving piece of play from him. There have been so many today. And Tottenham really got themselves into a spot of bother of their own making.
Yes, they did. This was a good race. But once ahead, well, you always felt a free kick was going to be the outcome. But they've coped well. I hope it's not the kiss of death for Spurs, but they've coped well with these set pieces so far.
4 minutes to go, and Walker holds on, and Tottenham hold on.
Now, once again, the delivery, not as well as we've come to expect from Arsenal. Spotted for choice in there, aerial targets, but they haven't managed to pick anyone out yet.
chase for John Hartson. Starting to make things happen. Merson. Adams. David Ellery has seen that as a dive. Dixon. Adams has stayed forward. He'll pass the referee on the way back, Tony Adams, and there was a comment passed. It didn't ruffle this very experienced referee.
I tell you what, he made it look a bit more than it was. I certainly thought there was a case there for a free kick. A little bit theatrical from Tony, let's see.
These Arsenal defenders comes up with something, if not in this game, in games to come. And I mentioned again the big matches that they have over the next few days, away at Liverpool in the Coca-Cola Cup, away at Newcastle in the Premiership next Saturday. The Arsenal adventurous policy pays off. They send the central defenders forward, and Tony Adams has hit a cracker.
What a volley, but watch Bergkamp's flick. I've talked all day about his subtle touches, his quality, and once again it's there. Watch this. Little outside of the right foot. Go on, Tony. A little bit of a deflection. I think it's off Carr, and that just rifles it into the corner.
Shattering for Spurs. Wonderful for Arsene Wenger and for Arsenal Football Club. Here comes Carr. Sheringham. And David Ellery has to defuse another potentially explosive moment. But Spurs are shocked. They must fear the worst now.
It was going to take something special to break down the Spurs defence. I was just about to say it 1-1 a minute ago. It stays like this, I don't think it's a result that anyone can argue with.
And has Tony Adams, for the third time in his life, won the North London derby for Arsenal. He did it at Wembley, of course, in an FA Cup semi-final. He's done it here once before as well. And he's struck, well, Arsenal will feel in the nick of time.
Well, I bet you neither of those two goals, Mark, were better than that one. He rifled it with the aid of a little deflection, but he didn't strike the volley well.
Right, now will they want to just keep it in the corner here and take it into time added on?
I'd be amazed if Ian Wright was out there. Well, if anyone's deserved a goal, Mark, I think it's been Dennis Bergkamp. I talked about his quality all through the first half, and once again, when you pay the amount of money you pay for this guy, this is what you paid it for. For situations like this, what a magnificent first touch, and what a finish. That is a supreme goal from a player who I think might have well have had his best game in an Arsenal shirt. I think he's been phenomenal today.
The Dutchman makes absolutely sure in the derby that the points belong to Arsenal. Ian Wright is conducting the crowd, and well, he should do as well, because his work was magnificent over in the far corner. He could have been forgiven for taking his time. In the end, again, emphasising this adventurous look to Arsenal under Arsene Wenger. They wanted another goal. Bergkamp has scored it. It's his last touch of the game.
Listen, I'm not so sure Arsene Wenger wanted another goal, Martin. I just think Ian Wright's, well, what we've always talked about him, it just took over again.
It's Ray Parlour who's come on. It's Armstrong, and Lukic didn't need to save it, but he wasn't to know that. It was going wide, he couldn't take the chance. And Spurs haven't taken their chances. They will reflect on that in the second half.
What a stinging.
But they got it back to 1-1, and then at Highbury, the late show from Arsenal. Anderton takes the corner. There might be more to come from the Gunners here.
Oh, Adams is off again.
He's got the taste. He measures the cross, but only onto the head of Calderwood. Arsenal certainly don't need another goal. They've won a sweet Sunday for Arsenal. A win over Spurs. Tony Adams with a crucial goal, followed by the brilliance of Bergkamp after it had stayed at 1-1, with Andy Sinton equalising in the second half. The first half penalty from Ian Wright. Arsenal will feel that it's long, long overdue. They go second in the table. 5 years since Spurs last lost here at Highbury. And the first ever defeat for Jerry Francis in management against Arsenal. Ian Wright sums up the mood in this corner of North London. They're just 1 point behind Newcastle. And after a little matter of Liverpool in the Coca-Cola Cup, next Saturday sees a rare old set-to between the top two at St James's Park. Wonderful stuff, Andy, if you're an Arsenal fan, shattering for Spurs.
Well, wonderful if you're a neutral, Mark. It must have been wonderful to sit and watch. It was a game that started so quickly, a passionate derby. Little did we know what lay ahead in the second half. Controversy, incident, and then an unbelievable finish for the home side.
Well, in terms of players on the pitch, it did finish 11 against 11. It might well on another day not have had that aspect to it. David Ellery had some difficult moments to deal with, but Arsenal solved the difficulties in terms of winning the match, and no one was leaving before the end, I'm sure, and certainly the finish came very, very late indeed. It's not normally a fixture associated with too many goals and such margins of victories, but Arsenal can savour here, and look at the lady there. She summed it up too. They've beaten the old enemy by 3 goals to 1.
And they'll celebrate as long and as hard as they can. What a day for the Gunners. The man of the match lines are open: 0891 11 11 01 as usual.